Text me as soon as you get on, okay? I was able to download it, Carolina.
All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the third annual California College Affordability Summit. My name is Catherine Avila, and I will be your moderator tech for this breakout session. I'm here to provide virtual support to both you and the presenter during the presentation. All attendees have been muted, so we ask that you put your questions in the chat or wait until the end of the presentation. And if you have any problems with the Zoom interface, you're more than welcome to send me a private chat. Just look for my name, Catherine Avila, and you can send me a private message so I can help you resolve your concern. It is now my pleasure to introduce you to our presenters for this session titled Empowering Families, Best Practices for Family Engagement, presented by Lucero and Patty Chavez.
Okay. You're welcome.
Thank you, Catherine. It is an honor to be here today presenting on behalf of PIQE, the Parent Institute for Quality Education. I know folks are trickling in, so as you come in, I ask that you please put your name and organization in the chat. And why is this important to you? I'm very curious to know why some of you chose to attend this session and what you're hoping to get out of it. We really want to get to know all of you, so this is a great chance to do so. I can share very quickly. My name is again Lucero Chavez. I am the Policy Associate for the Parent Institute for Quality Education, or PIQE. I'll be talking a lot more about who we are and what we do during our presentation. But I wanted to share why family engagement is important to me at a personal level. I am the daughter of immigrants. I'm an immigrant myself, and I'm also a first-generation college student. And just thinking back at my experience navigating our education system and navigating my way through college, to college and through college, I think if my parents had the support that PIQE provides to many families, the whole process would have been a lot smoother for myself. I know there were a lot of missed opportunities just because we didn't know things. We didn't know how to ask certain questions or where to go. And so that is why family engagement is important to me. I know it can be transformational. And, and it makes our lives easier as well. We also have here today our VP of External Relations, Patty Chavez. She will be monitoring the questions. So as Catherine mentioned, if you have any questions, any comments, any contact information, we want to hear from you. So please do put it on the chat. All right. Oh, so I see the chat is filling up. I love it. Wonderful. I see Madera, Covina, Escondido. Okay, wonderful. Long Beach. Great. Santa Cruz. Beautiful. Wonderful. Tustin. Okay, wonderful. We're statewide, so wherever you are, we probably have an impact. All right, so thank you all for participating in that. I want us to start by grounding ourselves on the parent experience. So for PIQE, our priority is the parent voice. We want to not just advocate for parents, but advocate with parents. So I'm going to play this video so that you can hear directly from our families. All of these families are PIQE graduates, meaning they have gone through our workshops and programming. And here's just a little reflection of what it's been like for them to participate in PIQE and what that's meant for their lives and their experience.
Lucero, there's no audio coming on our end. No audio coming on our end. Don't mute yourself.
That makes sense. Thanks, Patty. Let's try that one more time.
My husband and Arturo and I both work full time and try our best to maintain a work-life balance. We have two daughters, Olivia and Annette, ages 8 and 6. They are in second grade and kindergarten respectively. This is our first time taking the PIQE course. We enrolled in this class because we believe a good education is important for our kids' future. Since we've been attending this class, we have been more focused on reassessing this importance with our children. We have a better understanding about the integral roles family, school, and community play in our girls' education. How we participate and get involved in each one of these areas has a direct impact on our children's school's progress and development. We've started reviewing and discussing homework more thoroughly. We've had more candid conversations about why they want, what they want to do when they grow up and what steps they need to take to accomplish this goal. We've also had more communication with their teachers regarding their academic progress.
My name is Francisco Lopez. I have a son. His name is Daniel Francisco Lopez, and he doesn't live with me. He comes only on the weekends and part of the vacation. I want to thank God to give me the opportunity to be here. I want to thank the principal, the teachers, and parents, Tanya, and everyone that was involved in this, and everyone that is helping us. I got interested in PIQE because I noticed my son was not doing good in school, so it grabbed my attention. So I think thanks to that, I could take the PIQE classes with you, and I'm really thankful about it. I have learned a lot of things with you. A lot of information has helped me to get my son in the right path. And now he has good grades in school, and that's a positive result.
Right? Well, let me tell you, PIQE opened my eyes to a lot of opportunities that are available for us. It helps us educate ourselves. Parents, I encourage you to attend PIQE because we always learn something new every day. We learned that high school is all about for your children. You can ask questions about college and university's careers and goals for your children. Now Melissa is here with me, and I want to tell her how important it is attending college and university. Melissa, I am dedicated to help you with everything and anything that you need to accomplish your academic career goals. I attended PIQE classes to help me help you. Your high school teachers and principals are there for you too, to help you whenever you need them.
Gracias, les agradezco a todos los que hicieron posible este programa. Un abrazo y que Dios los bendiga siempre.
That's a little bit from our parents. If that didn't warm your heart, I don't know. This is the bread and butter of our work. This is what we love to see. We love to see positive outcomes, and we love to hear feedback from our families as well. Something before we move on that I'd like to note. The question often comes up of who needs this? Who needs these parent workshops, and who needs to learn more about family engagement? Well, as you saw, it's a very diverse group of parents. We have folks who didn't attend college, like my parents, who don't know how to navigate that system. It could be parents that are college graduates, but that want to get up to date with, the new requirements for going to college or for getting engaged in your children's school. We have a broad range of immigrant folks and refugees who might be new to the country and might not be familiar with our education system. Of course, we have districts and schools that need that extra support in order to bring more parents into their campuses and more parents into their programming so they can be involved. And a lot of times it's also parents who want to refresh their information. So we know that information on getting to college and on being engaged can change throughout the years. So a lot of our parents might have graduated 20 years ago, but they had, a grandkid now who might be going to college, or, they have a second child, or they have children in different grade levels. And so they'll retake these courses multiple times. So that's a little bit about the kind of people that we serve and what our community looks like. All right, so we'll move on to the agenda. Again, thank you all for being here. We're going to talk about PIQE so you get to know us a little bit. We're going to talk about our family engagement work, what we do, how we do it. And then we have been around for 35 years, so there's quite a lot that we have learned. So we'll go over some of the lessons learned. Take in mind, many of the lessons will be embedded throughout the presentation, so it'll be more of a summary of our learnings. And of course, we'll end with our closing thoughts. So let's start first with the history of PIQE. Here you can see a picture of our very first graduation. PIQE was founded in San Diego in 1987, so 35 years ago. And what I want you to know about this is that our history is rooted on social justice. Our founders realized that there were a lot of parents that weren't being represented at schools. Parents mostly from disadvantaged communities that just were not at the table. And when we think about support for our kids and what they need, we think of teachers, right? We think of school staff and admins. The family is that missing ingredient that, ensures that our students are as successful as they can be. And a lot of our parents weren't involved, not because they didn't want to. That is a huge misconception around family engagement. Our parents want to be involved. Unfortunately, there are some barriers preventing them from doing that. And, they might lack the know-how on how to engage. The system might be new to them. Like I said, we have a lot of immigrant and refugee families that are just not familiar. And there are other barriers too. There's extenuating circumstances. Our families are busy. Some of them have multiple jobs. They have, a lot to carry on them, and it's hard to be engaged when you have all that. There's language barriers too. And that's a huge issue that we're very conscious about at PIQE. And so given all these challenges, that's when PIQE emerged, to bring families together, to provide the know-how, the information, and the support for families to be more engaged in their children's education, and even beyond that, in their communities. So again, parents are in the forefront of our work. This is for parents, mostly by parents, as our founders are. And now we're celebrating 35 years. So please keep an eye out. We have a lot of events coming up this year to celebrate our 35th anniversary. But with these 35 years come a wealth of information that we would love to share with you. So that's a little bit of our history. And now I want to talk about our impact. Where are we and where are we doing all these things since 1987? So we offer direct service in California. We have 7 regional offices across the state, ranging from down to the state in San Diego. We have a few in the Central Valley. We have LA. We have Bay Area. We're all over the place, 36 out of 58 counties, in fact. We partner with about 100 school districts, 400 schools, and more than 18,000 families annually. Add that up for 35 years, and you can see the wide range of impact that we've had across our state. But we're not just in California, we're also national and a little bit international. We are in 13 different U.S. states and Mexico City as well. And what we do there is we share our national best practice model, our curriculum, so that these partners in other states can apply that to their own states, and that they can engage their own parents and see how it fits best into their particular needs and their schools. And of course, we provide that ongoing support for our schools. I have a few more stats for you. We're very data-driven, so we love numbers. So here's a few more. I wanted to emphasize the 16 languages. So we provide our workshops in 16 languages. We've provided it at some point in Mixteco too, in the Central Valley. And so we base these different languages on the needs of our families, right? If we want to get to our families, if we want to communicate with them effectively, we need to talk to them in their language. So that's huge. And in addition to that, I wanted to highlight these two stats that essentially tell us that our kids are much more likely to graduate high school if our parents go to PIQE. And they're more likely to enroll in a university, in a college as well. So we know statistically that our programs are effective, that they work, and here we can see the results and the growing impact. And so again, why do we do this? We do this to inform and to empower our parents, to get them engaged in their child's education, to get them active, not just in their child's education and in their schools, but in their communities as well. Now I'm going to spend some time talking about our work. So now you know a little bit about us and a little bit about our history and who is part of our audience. And now I'm going to talk about our work. So what we do essentially is we partner with districts, and districts assign us out to schools, and we go and we talk to parents. We have recruiters on the ground, and we have folks that call our parents and engage their interest in our programs and enroll them into our programs. And this is through a partnership with school districts. And then again, we provide that ongoing support in engagement and in our curriculum. We recruit from very diverse audience of parents with these recruiters that are part of the communities where we recruit from. That's very, very important, and I'll go into that a little bit later. But not only do we have our programming, which is what we're mainly known for, but we also think about holistic support when we're thinking about serving our families. Not only do we want to make sure that they have these resources to engage in their education, but there's always extenuating circumstances that might prevent engagement or make it more challenging. And so we always have that holistic vision in mind. What is the overall well-being of the family, of the kids, of the parents, to ensure that we're addressing that so that they can then be engaged. And then finally, systemic change. Our ultimate goal is to create systemic change and to create a better future. We want our kids who want to go to college. We want our families to achieve their goals, but we also don't want to carry on the challenges that we've had to the future. We want to make sure that it is easier for those in the future to get to college, to achieve their dreams. And so we think big picture as we are serving directly. And so I wanted to divide it in different prongs of how we do our work. So this programming, which you're all very familiar with, that is only one part of our work, as I mentioned. There's also data. I've mentioned it before. We're very data driven. We like collecting feedback, collecting stats to assess how we're doing. We advocate and we influence. We advocate with and for parents, and we influence leaders and change makers who are going to make those systemic differences for our communities. And then fourth and final, we have strategic partnerships. We cannot do this work alone. We are very much connected to so many networks across the state and the country to make sure that we can best serve our parents, right? We don't want to duplicate work. We want to work together to enhance the lives of our families. So those are the four categories we're going to be talking about as we go along. We're going to go through them clockwise. So let's start with programming. So these are a few examples of the programs we offer. Of course, many of you might be, if you're familiar with PIQE, you're familiar with our signature family engagement program. Again, that gives our parents the tools they need to engage in their children's education, to ask those questions to their teachers, to their districts, so that they know how to get involved. But we also have a lot more than that. As you can see, there's quite a range of programming. We have Bridge to College, digital literacy, we have STEM, civic engagement, social learning, much more. And this is because our parents have broad needs, and we want to make sure that we address them not only in terms of engaging with their school, but touching upon all these other issue areas that are pertinent to them. I mentioned too, a lot of it is grade specific. So you'll have parents take like family engagement for elementary school, for middle school, for high school, because if you are a parent or if you have gone through the American education system, you know that the expectations and the goals are very different as you move along through the system. I want to highlight one in particular that I think is the most pertinent to today's summit and today's presentation. That is our Bridge to College courses. So as the name states, our Bridge to College bridges that track from our kids going to high school to college. It provides parents with that information to support their kids as they're transitioning to college. So for example, we'll provide information on what is a GPA, what are GPA requirements, what are AP classes, how many does my kid have to take, et cetera, et cetera. What can I expect in the application process? Everything that helps our parents guide their students as they are applying to college and then once they're in. That's something that I want to note as well. It's not just important to get our kids to college to make sure they apply and they have their college essays and that they get in and they get the scholarships. We also have to keep them in college. We have to support them throughout the process and make sure that they graduate. So this program really helps our parents throughout that whole process so that they can remain engaged as their kids are moving on with higher education. Another one that I wanted to highlight is digital literacy, inclusion, and adoption. So this is something that came about during the COVID-19 pandemic. I'm sure you know all of this, but when everything was shut down and our kids were going on to distance learning, we realized that these issues that our families had with engaging in digital platforms was persistent, and it wasn't something new, but it was even more highlighted by the pandemic. And so what our staff did is regionally, we called our parents one-on-one in their home language to see what their digital needs were. Some parents needed support with Wi-Fi. Like what is Wi-Fi? How do I connect to my Wi-Fi? How do I log into Zoom? How do I go into my child's school portal so that I can see my child's grades? So all of those needs became very, very highlighted as the pandemic went on. And so we as an organization, seeing that was such a great need, decided to add that into our curriculum. So now our curriculum has a digital literacy, inclusion, and adoption component to it. Again, it's something that our families need and will continue to need in the future. I want to show you this picture. So the picture on my left is our graduations before the COVID-19 pandemic. Like I said, we are in schools. We like to be on campus. We like to have that direct one-on-one connection with our parents. But of course, the pandemic happened. Everything was shut down, and so we had to transition our parents. And like I said, we provided that one-on-one support, those phone calls to follow up to see what their needs were, and we were successfully able to onboard our parents onto digital platforms. And so we did not stop during the pandemic. On the contrary, we continued, we enhanced our programs, like I said, with adding digital literacy. Another thing that we added, social emotional learning. So that has been so crucial for our students and our families. It has been tough for them. And again, I'm preaching to the choir. I don't need to go into detail about what that means, but our families struggled, and something that we needed was that social emotional support for our kids and for our families, right? This is part of our way of thinking of the holistic well-being of our families, and social emotional learning and digital literacy are just some parts of it. Now that the world is opening up and we're returning to some sense of normality, we do offer in-person and virtual. So we have this hybrid option. Our parents are busy, so a lot of times it's just easier for them to, make dinner and not have to get childcare and be able to log into our programs online. Something that I do want to highlight, though, before we move on is when it comes to programming, PIQE is extremely responsive and we adapt to the needs of our families. We can't possibly have the same program we had 35 years ago because our parents have changed, our students have changed, our schools have changed, our needs have changed. And so as we go along, our programming adapts to those needs and those parent concerns. As we move forward, we can expect to continue growing and continue expanding based on those family needs. The next prong is data. We love data at PIQE. We love collecting it, and it allows us to evaluate how we're doing and how we can improve. This graphic right here tells you a little bit more about those calls that I mentioned that our staff made during the COVID-19 pandemic. They made over 60,000 calls, but also sent over 160,000 text messages. Again, we have to tailor that communication to what works best for the family. And sometimes it's not the phone, sometimes it's text. And so we will adapt to whatever that family needs. So yes, data allows us to measure our effectiveness. It allows us to continue changing and growing and adapting to the needs of families, and then just analyzing where we've been and what we've accomplished. Another way that we gather information and data is through our surveys. So these surveys similarly are also by phone in the family's home language, again, to ensure that we are really getting their parent voices across, that we're really, really understanding what their needs are. We've done that quite a lot these few years. We did a community needs assessment in 2020, 2021. We talked to our parents about school reopening in the summer of 2021. And we asked a little bit of everything. Again, we asked about their essential needs. Are your needs being met? Are your housing needs being met? Do you have access to the internet? Do you have access to devices? Are you communicating with your teachers, your students' schools? How's your mental health? Are you having concerns about that? Are your kids having concerns about that? So these are all very relevant questions to what is going on now in the world and what we hope to continue learning from our parents. And I will say this over and over again, but we cannot have good data without effective communication. And so I want to talk about some of the ways that we communicate with our families. So I mentioned the calls in the home language. I mentioned the text messages, but we've also developed in partnership with School Connect an app. And this PIQE mobile app is just a wonderful way to connect our parents to our PIQE staff, to connect our parents to each other so that they can network with each other. And also, in addition to that, there's the app really provides us with a way to communicate resources at an immediate kind of way. So it's almost like a mixture of Facebook and WhatsApp and, all these like messaging tools. I want to highlight too, with this app, you can translate the information that we send and receive into any language. So again, super, super beneficial for all our parents who speak something other than English. And then there's also an audio app option. There are some parents across the state who are not literate, who cannot read. And so this provides us with the option of still sharing that information, but instead of having to read it, they can listen to it. So again, this has been transformational for us. It's really helped us connect us as an organization with our parents to each other, our parents to to our schools. And this is only our second year doing this. And so I can expect this to continue growing, continue developing. We also have targeted social media platforms. So it's very important for us to ensure that parents are receiving information that is pertinent and that is relevant to their region, right? If you are in San Diego, we want you to receive news from San Diego. If you are in Bakersfield, if you are in Fresno, we want you to get those news from your region. And so we have our PIQE USA, which is our main page, but we also have targeted pages per region where we can post and we can offer these resources and information specifically to the region, which we can also do in the app. But as we're working to onboard all our parents onto our app, we also have Facebook and our other social media platforms. So again, we need to be able to communicate effectively with our parents so that we know what they need, so that we know how we can best support them. And, these digital tools have been just excellent in doing so for us. And then the third prong I want to talk about, this is the closest to my heart, I would say, as policy associate, but it's our advocacy and influence. We're not just providing these direct services and addressing the immediate short-term needs of our families, but we're thinking big picture. How can we create these systemic changes so that our future is better, so that our families' needs are met, and so that we don't have to face these challenges in the future? We don't want to carry them over to tomorrow. And so as part of our policy work, we do have a policy platform, and our platform serves as our guide map, as our guiding star, you could say, for our values, for the type of work that we do and the type of work we engage in. And you can probably guess what our priorities are just based on this presentation. But I wanted to go ahead and share some of our principles with you today. And so, for example, our first principle, enhancing family participation. We know at PIQE that families are part of the solution. They are an integral part of providing that support to our students, of growing, of improving our community. So we want them at the table. We want them there with the decision makers. We want to hear their voice. We also want to strengthen career pathways. For many of our families, it's college. It could be university, it could be community college, it could be the trades. But whatever their career goals are, we want to make sure that we lay out those pathways for our families so that they know that there is a chance and there is an opportunity to achieve your goals and get to where you want to go. And we're here to provide that support. For the third one, holistic well-being of our families. I've said this many times throughout the presentation, but we cannot expect parents to be engaged, to be active, if we're not thinking about their needs overall. So as part of our policy work and a policy platform, we keep that at the forefront of our minds. And then finally, securing investments in education, securing investments in our communities. We are very engaged, and I'll get more into it in our next slide, but we want to make sure that those resources that come from wherever they come, federal government, from the state government, from donors, that they get to the families that need it the most. And that they are used in ways that are effective to our families, right? We can't just throw money at the problem. We need to really target that support. And we're here to advise on some of that and where those funds could go, where those resources are needed. And fortunately, we have those connections, as Principal once said, with parents, where we can bring them in and have them share their stories and their needs. We also have an outstanding external relations team. So that includes myself as policy associate. We have Patty Chavez, who is our VP of External Relations, who is manning the Q&A. We also have a community engagement specialist located in Central Valley. We have a comms team. And so this has grown a lot over the past few years. We've really upped our game when it comes to policy and advocacy and our advocacy and influence. And I know we will continue doing this in the future. So as I mentioned, we want to make sure that our parents are at the table, and we want to be at the table as well. And so we are involved in many state and national coalitions. We are statewide, but remember, we are also national. So we like to keep an eye on both. We're very engaged with the California state legislative process. There are a lot of bills and legislative proposals that affect our families that have an impact on them. And so we want to make sure that our leaders hear from our families so that they know what kind of legislation we need, or what kind of different changes that we need in our policies. And the budget too. Again, money comes our way. We want to know about it. We want to know where those state funding and that federal funding is coming to, which districts. Is it coming to the districts that need it the most, and so forth. And we have an example of a few of our leaders. We had Senator Monique Limon from California, who very generously served as our keynote speaker at one of our virtual graduations during the pandemic. Senator Ana Caballero has been instrumental too in having conversation with our Mujeres Poderosas, our powerful women, which I will speak more on a little later, but engaging with our parents and hearing directly from them. We've also met with congressional representatives, and through our coalitions, we also have prepared materials like the independent study, which was a resource for parents to understand what their options were for independent study during the pandemic and while this learning was going on. So again, we're adapting to ever-changing needs of our families. And we've also given our input on other things like the California Math Framework. We look at it from our parents' point of view. We look at it from an equity point of view. What is missing? How can we bring our parents into the process of math learning, into our state curriculum? Financial aid and college pathways is another issue we advocate for. We have been part of, for example, the Financial Aid for All campaign with Education Trust West. So we know our partners are very much interested in this issue. So we tag right along and bring our parents with us. And digital equity and literacy, again, that I mentioned previously, has also been one of our priority areas. And there's much more. And again, this framework, and although our values don't change with the years, we'll still have the same values. We'll still, care and want to support our parents. But the priorities might change. And so we're always open to that. And we pivot based on that family need. And so, like I said, we want our families to be at the table, right? We don't want to speak for them if they can speak for themselves. And so we as an organization provide various opportunities where our families and our parents can continue to be engaged and can continue to develop their professional development, develop their skills, their leadership skills, their understanding of our education system, and so forth. And so let me talk about just a few of them. As I mentioned, we've been around for 35 years, so we have quite a robust set of alumni with us. And now we're trying to bring our alumni together so that they can connect with us and they can connect with each other so that we can continue providing those resources, continue connecting with them. Our alumni all have graduated from PIQE programs, sometimes from multiple PIQE programs as well. Like I said, our parents love coming back. And so they have a wealth of knowledge too that we want to leverage and we want to include when we do that advocacy and influence. When we go to legislators, we want our parents to share those stories. And so we also have the ambassador program, and that's a little bit more specific to our advocacy efforts. Our ambassadors are a group of parents that are self-identified advocates and who spend 1 year with us. They commit to 1 year, and essentially they provide their story, they tag along, and they take leadership in getting involved and getting engaged and advocating for these systemic changes. So, if we have a roundtable with an organization or a legislator, we will bring these ambassadors in so they can provide their own stories and their own feedback. They also comment on our PIQE materials. When we're doing these materials, you want to make sure that not only do they look good, not only are they useful, but that they actually hitting home with our parents, that they're actually helpful, that they're providing the information that we need. And so we depend on our ambassadors so that we can get that information and see, what we need to change, how we can improve to continue assisting our families. I talked a little bit about Mujeres Poderosas, and here you see one of our parents, Armanda, with Senator Ana Caballero. So Mujeres Poderosas, very excited to talk about this, but it is a group of moms in the Central Valley who realized that there were inequities in their own communities, and they wanted to do something about it. As a lot of our parents, they really wanted to activate, but they needed a little bit of support. And so PIQE was there to provide that support, to bring them all together so that they themselves can organize and, and create those changes. And so in one of their meetings, they had Senator Ana Caballero come by. They talked with her about legislation, about their priorities and their concerns in the Central Valley. And this is the epitome of what we want to see, right? We want to see parents leading. We want to see them engaged. We want to see them at the forefront. We want to see them sharing their stories and, being there, talking to legislators. So I'm very excited about this effort. Similarly, we have the Fresno Resident Council, again, community members coming together, talking about not just issues in education, but way beyond that. Like, what does the community need? What are those holistic needs? And of course, we want to continue building on that knowledge. And so we provide something called the Brown Bag Series. And so the Brown Bag Series are a series of presentations where we invite professionals on different issue areas that our parents might be interested in, so that they come, they can speak to our parents, they speak to our staff. So our staff is also in the loop. I can share with you that we have actually had California Student Aid Commission provide us with a presentation on, how to apply to FAFSA and the California Dream Act, how to do it, how to go through the whole process. We've had a California redistricting commissioner to talk about redistricting. We've had somebody from the California School Board Association talk about school budgets and how that comes down at the district level, at the school level, and how parents can get involved in that process. We'll be having one very soon next month where we will be showing parents how to get involved in the LCAP process. So again, super excited about that. The LCAP is just another issue area where we want to have our parents engaged and involved. We know we need a lot more parents engaged in that. And so this is an opportunity for them to continue learning and then use this knowledge to activate within their community. And last but not least, partnerships. Again, we cannot do this on our own. We cannot do everything, but we're really good at family engagement across the state and nationally. And so we're very fortunate to have a great number of partnerships across California and across the country that provide us with different things. Some provide funding, some provide support for, our programs, our issue areas. Some provide issue area expertise, right? We have, for example, Gabe, who's an expert in bilingual education. We have UPlan, which engage engages parents at a national level. So all of us have a different level of expertise, and we love to partner. We love to leverage each other's strengths so that we're not reinventing the wheel, so that we can actually work together and create these solutions. And this is only a tiny glimpse of all of our partners. We have many more in our website if you're interested. But we hope that you will be a partner too at the end of this presentation. There's always room for growth and for connection. And again, we want to hear from you, we want to partner with you. We want to do better, and we want to do better together. And so we'll provide some contact information at the end, but I hope that some of your districts and organizations will be on this PowerPoint at a later time in the future. So once again, we've talked about our work, what we do, how we do it, who we are, and why we've been able to be so successful. But I want to recenter us again and ground us again in the parent voice. I want you to hear directly from one of our moms of what that has meant to her, what she has gotten out of the PIQE program, and so forth. Their feedback is what matters to us. It's what guides our work, and we want to hear from them directly. So now we're going to hear from one of our middle school moms, and she's going to reflect on her experience with PIQE and what that has meant to her and her family.
My name is Ashwini. I have 2 children. My younger one is in kindergarten and goes to Marshall Pomeroy Elementary School. And my older one is in 7th grade and she goes to Thomas Russell Middle School. I decided to take PIQE workshop because as a first generation parent in this country, I didn't know much about education system here, and the information that I got, I learned from PIQE has really helped me to understand how to guide my children and what resources are available to find more information. Thank you, PIQE. Thank you, Thomas Russell, MUSD, and Mr. Anglon for bringing this workshop to the school. And it was a really great experience. I would like to say thank you to Mr. Anglon one more time for providing the childcare as well as the pizza. Thank you.
Oh, I love that so much. Even the pizza makes a difference, right? Our parents are busy. They have a lot going on. So if there's anything that we can do to make these workshops, available to them and accessible to them, we will do it. And I love hearing directly from our families. This really, really is what moves us. And so as we're reflecting about what we can do to engage our families in schools and just everywhere where decisions are made, I want us to continue thinking about the parent perspective as we move forward. All right. Now, we've been around for 35 years, and in 35 years, which is older than me, we have learned quite a lot. So we have, I want to share with you some of the lessons learned. I know you picked some of this up, so it might sound like repetition from the presentation, but I really want to drive these points home. And the first thing I want to emphasize is trust. Building trust with our families is the most important thing for our work. Our families need to know that we are a resource, that we are there for them, that they can trust us. And so part of that relies on that one-to-one communication with our families. Those phone calls, those recruiters that go to the school and talk to the parents and talk to the teachers and the admins, it means a lot. It means a lot to our families, and it creates an environment where they feel safe, where they feel heard, and where they can grow. Again, the home language, right? If we want to communicate with parents and if we want to create that trusting and safe environment, we need to communicate to them where they're at in a mode that is appropriate to them, whether that is by phone, in person, by text, whatever it is. We've been in certain spaces where they'll say, well, we sent an email to all our teachers, or sorry, to all our parents to inform them of X and Y. Well, it turns out that a lot of our parents, based on our surveys, don't have an email address, or they're not familiar with how to use an email address. So we need to continue finding alternative ways to connect with our parents in a way that works for them and meet them where they're at. In building this safe and trusting environment, we also have staff that, like I said, come from these communities. Our recruiters and our facilitators, they are from the communities that they serve, because nobody knows what our parents need better than parents and folks that are already in the community. And we want to make sure that, that support that we bring is targeted, that is specific to what the parents and the families need. And so we're lucky to have lots and lots of staff members across the state, and then helping nationally to connect our folks. And as we build trust, we need to be mindful of linguistic differences, but also cultural differences. A lot of our parents did not go through the American education system. That was the case for my parents. They graduated high school, yes, but in a totally different country. So as families are learning the culture, coming from different cultures, we have to keep that in mind as we serve them. Like I said, we've provided courses in Mixteco for some of our families, which is a dialect. A lot of folks don't think about that, but we do, because we know it's important, and we know that's the best way to connect with our families. The second thing I really want to really emphasize is being responsive. And I've mentioned this throughout the presentation today. But as we connect with parents, as we build this environment and have these connections with them, we need to respond. We don't need to just listen to them. We need to respond to what they need. And so we keep this constant communication with them, because we know that needs change and concerns change. We all saw it during the pandemic. Our worlds were turned upside down and things changed in a second. And so we had to respond immediately to that. And see what our family's needs are, right? In our case with COVID-19, it was digital literacy. Getting our parents onboarded onto Zoom, onto their own Wi-Fi, getting them devices, ensuring that that they were connected, because the world is changing, and we might not have distance learning at the moment for some of our kids, but that when you go to a restaurant now and they don't have paper menus, it's because they have a QR code. So you have to know how to navigate these different spaces, right? We're moving to the future, and we're always thinking about the future as we respond to our parent needs. Our surveys and our data really help with this. This is why we want to keep data, and we want to keep ourselves informed and in tune with what our parents want and need and feel. And our surveys do a wonderful job at capturing that at certain moments. So really, our part of our job is, one, to build trust, but two, to also be responsive once we build that trust. And then the third thing that I really want to emphasize, again, is the holistic support. I said this like 20 times during the presentation, because I know that it matters. It really does matter. A parent who is worried about feeding their child, about housing, about keeping their job, is going to have more difficulties connecting to their child's education and supporting their students, right? That is a fact. And so we need to think about all these other issues around the family so that we can address them and that we can uplift them, so that that is no longer a challenge, and so that they can move forward, right? And part of the work we do is bridging that connection. So we talked about, for example, social media and our app. We want to bridge that connection to resources, whether those resources come from the government, whether they come from other partners. Somebody is doing something to help our families, and we want our families to know. That's why we have these regional Facebook pages, so that we can target that support, so it's region specific to our parents. And our job here is to bridge those connections. We also want to connect parents to each other and to opportunities of growth. So that peer-to-peer connection is crucial, right? We want them to have their own network of parents so that they know who to call, who in their school will know, how can I activate other parents in my child's school or in my community to get X and Y done. And then so that they build their network and that they participate in other things like DLAC and ELAC, like opportunities like our ambassadors, like Mujeres Poderosas, where you see parents coming together and taking the lead in creating these systemic changes in their community. So in these 35 years, I know there's quite a lot of knowledge to piece together, but if you leave with anything in this presentation, please remember it is important to build trust. It is important to be responsive to the needs of our families. And it's very important to think about our holistic needs, our overall well-being of our families. And like I said, we really hope that you will contact us. Please keep in touch. You have our VP of External Relations and my email up there. If you want to bring a PIQE program to your district, here are the different offices that we have across the state. Do reach out to us, email us, call us. We will get you connected so that we can get you that support so that your parents can be engaged as well. I hope that this presentation gave you some valuable insight on what we do and why we do it, why it's so important to engage our parents, and what we've learned from 35 years of doing so successfully. Please do take this information back to your networks and reach back out. We want to hear from you. We want to grow this partnership list. We want to do more. So please, if you have any questions that were not answered today, or if something comes up, or if you can think of a way that we can partner, please do reach out. We would love to hear from you. And let's continue working together to ensure that our families get the support and everything that they need to be successful and achieve their goals. Thank you all for listening and for being here today and for your commitment to our families. We hope to hear from you soon, and we hope that this was helpful. But thank you all so much, and thank you to CSAC for having us here and inviting us to provide this information.
Thank you so much, both Lucero and Patty, for sharing your expertise with all of our participants this morning. Please know that all the presentation materials are or will be available on the SCED event platform. The recordings will be posted on the CSAC event webpage by tomorrow. And we also welcome you to use the SCED to provide feedback so we can continue to provide you with the support you need to implement the up and coming application completion requirements. Have a great day, and I'll stay on for a bit just to answer a few questions. I see some coming in. And if you have any other questions, please stay for a little bit. But this is the end of our session. Have a great one, and we'll see you in the next one.
Catherine, thank you for moderating and for the reminder and all that.
Of course, there was a question that came. I wasn't sure if they were referring to the summit itself, but they're asking if there was a cost for the program. I'm assuming they're referring to the PIQE.
Yeah, so we can help out with some of that. That's a little bit more specific on how we engage with the districts. I didn't go into that.
Okay.
But they can reach out and we'll work with them, and hence why
So yeah, for our school districts, we help do matching funds.
Making us
able
calls,
to
okay?
assist with the cost of the service.
Which
So
one of
there
you
are
is sharing the
8 to 9
screen for the
workshops. And then they continue working, we continue connecting with them through our app. So our families do have 8 to 9 week workshops, about 90 minutes each. And then they continue getting support through the app with us for the longevity of their alumni status with us.
Okay, thank you so much for answering that question. And I don't see any more coming in, so thank you both for being here. Really appreciate it. It was really insightful.
Great.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Thank you. Please send our thank you to Victoria too. She's been amazing and just coordinating everything.
Okay, perfect. All righty.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you.